Welcome back to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Jason Schembri, a friend of mine, a customer of mine, a colleague of mine, and for a while he was a fellow podcaster as well. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Jason, 17 years, has been a leader in providing turnkey lighting retrofits amounting to millions of dollars worth of energy savings that have also garnered millions in incentive money for clients across Ontario. Jason has also provided educational seminars for George Brown College, ACMO RCM. ACMO is the Association of Condominium Managers of Ontario, and I don't know what RCM is, but I'm sure he'll tell me in a minute. At trade shows, seminars, etc. He's kind of a deep guy in the lighting industry in Ontario for a long time. He was there during the fluorescent upgrade time from T12 to T8 to T5, and then he's been through all LEDs, and now he's moving into the controls era. So he's got a lot to talk about here on Get a Grip on Lighting. Before we go there, buddy, we got to go to baronltg.com. Baron Lighting Group, Greg Eric.
Hey, you know what? A lot of application matters in lighting. I know we've said this before, but it really does matter. High bays especially, there's too much junk going in up in the sky that we need to get it back to where it belongs, where you think about the application, and Baron is doing it with their NHBL series NSF LED high bay. Now that's rated for harshest environments, wet locations, that's food processing, industrial, outdoor environments even, up to 65 C temperature, polycarbonate or glass lens, color selectable, lumen selectable, everything you need in a high bay for that application or any application, they've got it. They actually are thinking it through, not just saying, here's our high bay. This is unique, the NHBL series high bay. You got to check it out.
And I was checking out their website. They actually do have a lot of unique products at Baron Lighting. So go to BARRONLTG.com. Check them out, Baron Lighting. The nailed section is going to get a little bit longer these days, Greg, because we have so much going on, man. It's crazy. So if you have light bulbs in a warehouse, you sell light bulbs on a counter, on Amazon, on your website, in the field, wherever. If you have light bulbs in a warehouse, you should be a member of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, even if you're a Canuck. If you're a Canadian, get in here. Because it's basically, in this environment, it's all the same players. Greg, we got the controls course at Lightivation coming up, a controls certification from the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. We got that coming up at Lightivation in June. Go to nald.org to register. It's only $3.99 for male members and $4.99 for non-male members, but that's an early bird special. I think it ends at the end of February, Greg. I can't remember, maybe mid-March.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, this thing's going to sell out. We already got over 20 people registered. 60 is the max. There's 3 streams. You can go distributor, you can go designer, or you can go installer. You're going to put your hands on these controls products. Serious education. Go to nald.org for that. And then, Greg, we have our convention coming up in September.
Got to get to that.
I don't know if Jason's a chump or not. What do you think? Is Jason a chump, Greg?
He doesn't look like one. We'll see.
Jason, are you going to be in Las Vegas May 4th through 8th for Light Fair or what, buddy?
Well, I'm still recovering from the last time I was there for Light Fair, so we'll see. Financially and emotionally, and yeah.
We got to get you there to come hang out with all the nail guys. Jason, welcome to Get a Grip on Lighting. Welcome back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Before we get into it, I just want to talk quickly about the amazing show you guys had on the old Light TED Mag, which has been sunsetted by NED now. And TED Mag, they're not doing that publication anymore. Lighting's not as hot as it was in 2019 or 18 or whenever. What was it like when you were hosting the contractor and distributor show with Chad?
Yeah, I in all honesty, I enjoyed it. It was just anytime you can meet somebody on the other end of the spectrum in another country and what they face, and you get to figure out different things that you face together, and they align. You know what I mean? Geographically, we might not align, but the issues we face do. So I found that really interesting. And Chad's a good guy too in moderation. So no, I'm joking. He's a good guy, but yeah, it was an enjoyable experience for sure. Another feather in the cap.
So we've been doing business with one another. It goes back to before 2010 anyway, and you were always a sharp guy in the industry. I couldn't get all your business, but we did a lot of trade over the years in recycling and then the T8s, selling you ballasts and all that, retrofit kits and all that back in the day. But you went from working for a company that was kind of like an ESCO or something like Provident Energy Management, that was more about, just energy retrofits. And now you're at Oz Electric in Toronto, which is really large unionized, a lot of new construction work, a lot of specification work, large infrastructure projects with the cities and the province, and even maybe nationally. What's the difference between going from a company that just is doing lighting projects to one that's as big as Oz Electric and doing all sorts of different things?
So when I was with Providence, we're talking 2005 to 2015. It was we started with just eight of us. It was the Wild West back then, and you can account for that. You can attest for that. There was it was just a free for all. Lighting retrofits weren't huge yet, and it was just you can get as much as you can get as long as you go for it. There was less competition. It wasn't a race to the bottom, and every building, literally every building, was an opportunity, untapped market, you might say. So as the years went on, we did a lot more work, and obviously competition grew and less opportunities, and lo and behold, reputation mattered more than ever after, which was good because Oz Electric is a large scale company, and it's been around for 30 plus years, and the reputation's there. Anybody can do a retrofit, anybody, but who can stand by it? Who's going to do the right work? Who's going to pull the permits? Who's going to recycle the old mercury laced fluorescent lighting? Only the reputable companies, I think, will do that, and Oz is one of those companies. So it's nice to see the evolution, and it's nice to take the high road when it comes to, maybe we won't get every job, maybe we won't be the best price, but we'll be the best work, we'll do it right, and we'll pull permits, and we'll make sure we do things safely. Competition can't always say that, but lo and behold, there's enough, I think, opportunities for everybody. So what I've seen over the years is going from Provident, when it comes to lighting and electrical side, was a small time player at the time, and Oz is obviously going to be one of your larger scale companies. A lot more costs, obviously, and more overhead with that, but there's going to be a lot more manpower, and we can do larger scale projects, and we will stand by those projects, which is more than I could say for a lot of companies. So I'm pretty blessed to be here. So
Yeah, I want to ask about your mindset there because it kind of raised something with me. Is saying it's okay to lose some. I still struggle with that. I feel
Mhm.
you, and that's probably the right move. But is it just come with age and experience where you're like it's gonna be okay, or like I'm always
It
so
is
tense
age and
about everything.
experience.
Damn it, I
It
got to get
is age and
older.
experience. I play a lot of sports, and I'm very, very
Yeah.
competitive.
Yep.
And I don't like losing out on anything, and I don't like to not go for anything. I want everything. I want it all, and I want it now. That's me
Same.
by nature, right? But I've also learned over the years. I think that's a Queen song, right? But anyways, I've learned over the years, careful what you wish for. Some of these projects do not turn out the way you want them to, and they're nothing but a headache. You know, they're nothing but a headache. So sometimes it's a blessing to not get everything you want to get, and it's sometimes it's pretty good to pick and choose what you go for. Last thing you want to do, I'm sure you guys can attest to this. Last thing you want to do is take part in a race to the bottom, because then at the end of the day you're awarded a job where the only way you're going to make money is if all the stars align and everything works out. And how often does that happen? The best skill set you could have is being able to remedy issues that go sideways, right? It's all about being able to correct wrongs and fix things, and it's all about being able to take the negatives and turn them into positives, right? So some of these projects, the only way you're going to be profitable is to be able to address everything and make sure you're anything that does go sideways, you're able to remedy. And some of those projects, there's no margin for error, and I don't think you really want to take part in a project like that. You don't want a project where everything has to go the perfectly for you to make money. You know what I mean? Because inevitably, it's human nature. There's going to be things you don't account for. You can't look at every fixture. Some fixtures are going to have poor wiring. There's stuff that you need to have that little bit of a buffer to be able to address those problems. And some of those race to the bottom projects, you don't have that buffer.
The other thing is that Oz Electric is a unionized company too. And when, I deal with a lot of the union contractors in Toronto for lighting supplies, and I'll tell you this, I would much rather have them shutting down the 407 than my guys. You know what I'm saying? Like the level of competency in the union environment is a lot higher. That doesn't go for all non-union shops,
Yeah. for sure.
You know, it doesn't go for all of them. There's a lot of good non-union electrical contractors in Ontario, but I'll tell you this, the standard of training and the level of expertise and professionalism at union companies in Ontario is much higher than it
You
is.
summed it up.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
like
gist of it right
if
there.
you need to shut down the 407, you're probably using a unionized lighting contractor in Ontario, or the 401 or one of those major highways
You're
that
you're
are,
you're killing power to the TD tower
yeah,
at
exactly.
between at the busiest
Yes.
time of year. You don't want a mom and pop guy
Yeah.
working out of a minivan doing
Yeah.
something like that,
And that's
because
a lot
the
of lighting
risk versus
retrofits.
reward is, yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
So he's put himself in a different category, Greg Eric, than you probably play in on a regular basis
Yeah.
with the fact that it's union. He's just going to miss a lot of jobs anyway, simply by the fact that it's a union contractor and there's costs associated with that. But also, I want to bring up the point. Maybe Greg, maybe I can throw this one over to you and then back over to Jason just quickly. I've noticed in this era, as things have become more complicated and not every building has a lighting retrofit and with the stuff that's done, I've been firing a lot of clients that are really hard to deal with and are like kind of trying to get me to give them information so they can shop it and go and get other quotes and stuff like that. Greg, have you been doing the same thing or are you still swinging through the trees with a knife in your teeth?
I still feel more in that realm where I'm swinging, but I a lot of the customer we're doing a lot of projects still, where you do a project and then it's good for a while. You don't need to come back. Where I could see that being is more on the contractor side. Like certain people that are giving you constant business. At some point, you're like, okay, you're not giving me all the right info, or you're making it a lot harder than it needs to be. However that is, yeah, I could see getting to that point where you need to filter it, but I don't think I've done enough of it yet. Again, I still got to age here. It sounds like.
What about you, Jason? Are you, when you're looking at a customer, are you walking away from them just because you know the type or you can smell it that it's not a union environment? This guy's looking to take it down. Like, how do you suss that out? Like, what are your signals and your signs that you see?
20 years of the school of hard knocks. That's how there's two different clients. I find there's clients that want to work with you, that you're both going to excel, and there's clients that hire you and they treat you as if you're indebted to them because they've hired you. So that second client, I tell you right now, they're going to make you earn every penny you make, if you make anything. So if you could avoid clients that treat you like you're indebted to them because they've hired you, I think the happier you'll be and the more profitable you'll be and the less stress you'll face. So it's just like a client would pick their contractor, a contractor's got to pick their client. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Sure.
It's not always, like I said before, you don't want to get every job, right? You don't want a job where you can't afford to have problem solving be a part of the equation. Problem solving is always going to be a part of the equation. Every job's going to have a hiccup. If there's no margin there to offset that hiccup, that's not a job you want. So I think that's another factor. You got to look at, not every job is, not going after every job is not necessarily a bad thing. Picking and choosing what's going to be a sound job for you mentally, emotionally, and financially, I think is a good exercise.
And
And
your
it's hard for me to admit that. I've always gone for
yeah,
everything over the years. But in all honesty, that's the way to go.
probably the right way to think about it. I'll get there someday. The lighting role. So before, when you were in that previous job, all you did was lighting. Now you're doing a lot more. Are you still seeing? Like, is your role there lighting only, or are you doing other things for the company?
I do everything now, but I'm business development as well, so I'm looking for any opportunity and funneling it to the right chapters within the company. And even with my Provident days, I ran the energy retrofit department. So I was doing VFDs, I was doing lighting, I was doing carbon monoxide detection in parking garages, I was doing BAS systems, so anything that's going to conserve energy. But my forte has always been lighting, because that's, in all honesty, it still is. That is the low hanging fruit. That is the gateway retrofit to everything else in that building. Every room, there's a light. Every single room on this planet, there's a light. So the opportunities there are endless. So with that, that's what's going to get you to where you want to get to, do in-suite work, common area work, HVAC work, you name it. That first step is the lighting, because everybody can look at the lights and say, "Hey, these are dark and dreary." You have two different colors of of lights. There's so many flaws that even the layman's person, like anybody that's just walking in that building that knows nothing about it, can see. Hey, That doesn't make me happy. I don't like the look of that light. So with that, everybody can pinpoint that issue, and from that you can, you know, offer a lot of stuff. So lighting's the common denominator, I find.
And you're doing a fair amount of new construction right now, or some, it sounded like.
Yeah, a lot of base electrical for new construction. I take care more of the retrofits. That's always been my forte, is the retrofits. So, you know, going into a building, see how we could generate savings, see how we can upgrade the building, and make it a more enjoyable experience for tenants, residents, customers. So, but and the stuff I can't do, I will funnel to the guys and girls that can internally, that are far smarter than I am. So I'll hand it off to them, and they usually can stick handle it from there.
And are you getting a fair amount of requests for controls right now?
A little bit, yeah. There's that's always coming up. Some of these larger hotels, high end hotels, the controls are as important as the lights. We're doing a museum right now in downtown Toronto, and we're upgrading the lighting, and we have to put in controls as well. So let's have it. It's all site specific. The higher end buildings, and the buildings that have engineers internally, they always want lighting controls. A landlord that has to pay the bills, they will want lighting controls. They want that, they want perimeter lighting around windows not to be on. They want, they want minimal foot candles in areas where there's zero inhabitants. So it's site specific, but yeah, controls are always going to be there, and people that understand controls, which are few and far between, yeah, are always going to be a necessary evil to deal with. No offense.
Do you think so? There's been in our careers, I would say, there's been kind of two previous iterations of controls that kind of busted out. The first was like the relays and the, connecting things with low voltage all through the parking garage or
Basic, yeah.
whatever. And then there was like that Cat 5 thing where they were plugging computer cables into fixtures and controls, and that busted. But now we have like a different era. And what I'm seeing from my perspective, I think there's going to be a very steady growth. It's not going to be an explosion, but there's going to be very steady growth in controls as they go deeper and deeper into fixtures and into all parts of the building. What do you think, Jason? Do you feel the same way? Steady growth? Is it going to be an explosion, or are we going to have another bust?
I'd say it's going to be steady growth, I think. As the cost of energy keeps climbing, the need to control the usage on a holistic level for an entire building is going to be more and more important, because there's just, I don't know how many times you've driven by large buildings apart, even office buildings where it's 7 p.m. There's minimal people in the building, yet all the lights are on. You know what I mean? Somebody's paying for that. So as penny pinching becomes more important, you're gonna need high level controls. And I think it gradually over time, that's gonna be the retrofit to do, because you can only go so far with the fixtures themselves, right? It's how you utilize them. That's gonna be the step to take. So you're gonna hit a plateau on energy concert, on lumens output versus wattage consumption and efficacy of fixtures. You hit that plateau. We're almost there. If not, we might already be there actually. But what's the next step? Controlling usage and aux sensors. And the only way you're going to utilize that is with controls and intelligent controls. Michael, you know as well as I do, a particular theater we were trying to deal with in the past, not too long ago. It's a it's a hard thing to sell sometimes, but over time they're going to realize there's limited options, and they'll come knocking back at our door. We wasted quite a bit of time trying to get a large scale theater to see the light, so to speak. It's a horrible pun, but
Well, I was just going to say it. We
utilize
brought in
high
we
level
brought in the
controls.
greatest
But
controls integrator in the world, Ron
yeah,
Kuzma.
yeah,
We brought him in and
yeah,
said, "Hey,
and they
here's
balked.
Ron," and
Yeah,
they said no. And
yeah,
this guy, like, he's the host of the Lighting Controls podcast. I mean, this guy had the solution already. We were telling him, you don't say so much stuff to this
yeah,
guy. You just go and do the analysis. Don't tell him everything.
Hmm.
that you know, because he was actually very excited, and he knows so much about controls that he just gives out information that he should see as proprietary actually. But
Yeah,
that being
yeah.
said, Greg, over to you. You wanted to. I just want to give a plug though to the Nailed Controls course for professionals. This is not an introduction to controls. This is a deep dive where you'll be certified by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. There's only about 40 spots left, and we're still in the early bird period, Greg. Just going to plug that in there. Go to nailed.org, all you folks listening. Go ahead, Greg.
I'll get in, and to bring some real world into this, and that might relate to that course, is actually selling it. Or it will relate to it. So I'm going to ask Jason. You're in a classroom. They have LED fixtures in right now with 0 to 10 volt capability, a drop ceiling, and now they want to control it. Are you going to go wireless? Or are you going to wire them all back to the 0 to 10? Or are you going to ask them? Or are you going to do whatever? What, like, let's say they don't have a preference. If they had a preference, obviously you do that. They have no preference.
Drop
They just want
ceiling.
these lights to dim.
Drop ceiling, I'm going wired.
You're going to
Amen,
wire it.
brother.
Finished fancy ceiling where you're not going to want to put trap doors every 10 feet, I'll go wireless. It's site specific, but if it's a drop ceiling, pop some tiles out of the way, run some cable.
That's it, huh?
You don't have to
That's what
babysit a battery. You don't have to, I'm old school. I'd rather have a wire,
The
but yeah,
wiring
site
is so
specific.
stable. Like wired controls, like even with relays, like I have systems that are 20 years old that still work.
Hmm.
And no
Hmm.
recommissioning, nothing. And we wired it with all LVT cable and relays. We had a couple relays go here and there or a sensor. But I just feel so comfortable about that wired control, Jason. I agree with you
I
on
have a
that.
BAS background with with Provident back in the day. They have right now, they have probably 200 buildings they have BAS for controlling all the HVAC equipment. And they've been doing that since the mid 80s, and everything still is hardwired. Even though you have the option of having batteries controlling different things, when you have HVAC on the line and you can't afford to lose control of a boiler and piss off 500 units, you want that wire there
Mm.
as a security blanket, right? So yeah, I'm still of the old school. I'd still go that route if I can, but finished areas and ease of application, sometimes you do utilize wireless.
Do you ever have the issue of getting the wire from the ceiling down to the switch then? Even on a tile ceiling?
Nope, nope, nope,
Always easy.
nope.
I can tell all
Yeah,
my
always
contractors,
easy.
always easy.
Always easy. Always easy. Of course, I'm never there to actually do the work, but for me,
Yeah, right.
always easy.
Easy.
That's why the electricians, when they come back, they resent me more often than not. They resent me, but I try to buy them as much Tim Hortons and goodies as
There you go.
possible to make nice.
Do it.
All right. Well, I think that was a good conversation. 20 minutes is starting to become a power zone for us, Greg Eric. Do you have any final thoughts, Jason Schembri, for the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast listeners?
I think, in all honesty, I think lighting right now it's in an awkward spot. I'd say early 2000s to 2015 to be in this industry doing retrofits or doing any lighting upgrades was the place to be. But we did so much work and we installed so many long-term lighting solutions that we kind of caused a lull in opportunities because we've done everything and we gave them a 10-year buffer of they don't have to worry about anything. But guess what? I think that 10-year buffer is about to stop hard. So I
It
think
was a
we're gonna
10-year
get
bluffer. It was a 10-year
yeah, or
bluffer.
bluffer. Yeah, or bluffer. But I think there's gonna be a major influx of buildings that wanna do lighting retrofits again, especially the fact that they got to see the financial gains of going from you know, even with a two lamp T8 60-watt fixture down to a flat panel 25 watt. That's hard numbers. At 24/7, that's a lot of electricity to conserve. And
Sure.
that's you don't have to be a lighting expert. The penny pinchers and the bean counters, they saw the difference.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think we're gonna see another influx of a lot of buildings that want to upgrade to new age lighting again because they're believers now because they saw the benefits of the first time they took that chance. So I
Do you
think
think,
you're gonna see
are
a
they going to be
major influx
pissed,
of
though?
opportunities.
Are they going to be pissed about all the burnouts and the inability to replace light bulbs and the problem five, like this driver thing? It's hilarious. You get a
Yeah.
call, you get an order for 50 drivers, and then you go to the guy and you say, "Hey, what amperage do you want them programmed at?" And the guy's like, "Huh?" You, he's like, "I'm just
Ask
ripping the
any.
fixtures out now." He's like, "I'm done. I'm ripping them
In
out."
all honesty, I get to talk to boards of directors and apartment owners, landlords, and those guys that had 300 4-inch pot lights with 50-watt halogen lamps at 24/7, and then going to, let's say, an MR16 5-watt or 6-watt. That is a substantial energy savings at 24/7. So those
So they
people,
got their money
even
back
if
10
they were
times.
pissed a bit, oh
They
my
got they got
God,
their
did
money
they
back
ever?
10 times. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Did they ever? So
For sure.
they're not that pissed. They're a little bit pissed, but really not that pissed
A
because
little.
they are saving just exponential amounts of money.
What a beautiful answer from Jason Schomburg, Greg Eric. I think we can leave it at that. That's a beautiful answer. I want all of you listening right now, go immediately to Baron Lighting, baronltg.com. That's BARRONLTG.com, Greg Eric.
We talked about their NHBL series. That's their NSF LED linear high bay. It looks really nice too. I didn't say that at the beginning, but it's got a cool look. The color selectability up to, let's go Canadian, oh no, 65C Canadian, 149 for the US people. That's 150 degrees it goes up to. That's huge. And to have that selectability and everything you need in between, do it for the right application. And oftentimes a lot of people don't do it. So you can do it here now with Baron.
No, I've been saying every show for years now, do you have light bulbs in a warehouse? Okay. But if you don't have light bulbs in a warehouse and you need your people trained on controls, and I'm not talking about introduction to lighting here, I'm talking about your badass mofos that you have out there that, hey, they are a little bit tentative when it comes to specifying and talking with clients about controls. You need to go to nail.org right now and sign up for our controls course, which is happening at Lightivation. This is a badass certification. This is not introduction to controls. You're going to get into brands. You're going to get into handling the equipment, commissioning the equipment yourself right there at the course. It's serious. Go to nald.org. Also, Greg, you're not a chump, man. I'm going to see you May 4th through 8th at Light Fair for sure. I don't know about this Jason chump, but you're going to be there for sure.
Get Jason going, and everybody should go. It's a lighting trade show to
Agreed.
be at. You got to get to Light Fair.
Thanks,
Agreed.
you all.
We'll hit the blackjack table together
There you
after.
go.
There you go.
Bye for now, folks.